So I'm going to be showing you guys how to go from the start and how to get dash ingots, because the recipe is really, really long. So I figured I'd just make a video, help you guys out a little bit. Some of the stuff here is electric stuff. This is for ease of use for me. You'll just be making the normal version. I will have a flowchart that has all of the crafting recipes in it. Just again to make it a little bit easier for you guys and make this video a little bit shorter. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to need to get is an assembly machine. Now, most of you should already have this, so I'm going to try and get through this part very quickly. But in case you don't have one already, let's get started on how to make it. So, get an assembly machine. You're going to need motors. You're going to need circuits. You need steel, copper, and glass panes. The stuff on the top and bottom are pretty self-explanatory, but the motors and circuits have a little bit of difficulty trying to figure out what to do. So the first thing you're going to need to get that is a press. Here's the recipe for the press. You'll need a flat stamp, and you'll need a machine template folder. Now with the machine template folder, you're going to right click and it's going to open up this menu. And all you're going to do is you're going to have a flat plate in your inventory. You're going to click on the one that you want, and then it'll pop up in your inventory. So go ahead and make one for plates, wires, and circuits. Go ahead and put it in your press. And then obviously you're going to need to power it. Once you put the power in there, it'll have a little bar that'll come up. Here, I'll just grab a burner press real quick and show you guys. So it'll have a little bar that'll come up. Once the bar gets to the yellow, it'll start making them, and it'll make them faster and faster once it gets into the red. You can get steel with iron and coal in a blast furnace. Or you can, which is what we do, you can find it at a structure, which is much better because you need a lot of steel for stuff. The second most important thing to get is Minecraft grade copper. And all that is just industrial grade copper, which is smelted copper with redstone. And this will make yourself that Minecraft grade copper, which you'll need for red copper wire and advanced alloy. So we're gonna take this Minecraft grade copper that we've made, and we're gonna make a bunch of circuits with it, or a bunch of red copper wire with it. Excuse me, because you'll need a lot of red copper wire. So go ahead and make plenty of that. With your plate stamp, go ahead and make a bunch of steel ingots. And with the red copper wire, you can take iron and like this, surround it. We'll get that copper coil. And with the copper coils, you can do something a little like this. Get that ring coil. And then with the ring coil, you get 2 motors. You can also use iron plates if you don't have any steel. And the recipe is that. Okay, now that you have your motors, we're going to need to learn how to make a basic circuit. So to get a basic circuit, you're first going to need a basic circuit assembly. You'll need aluminum wire for that. You get it the same way that you do all of the other ones. So go ahead and get yourself some aluminum wire. 1 aluminum wire, 1 redstone, and 1 steel plate. And you'll have your basic circuit assembly. You should also have a circuit stamp. You're going to take it, put it in a circuit stamp. Now you have a basic circuit. So now that you figured out how to make motors and basic circuits, you're going to go ahead, do something like that. And now we have an assembly machine. So the assembly machine will require a lot of power. You'll need the assembly templates. To get assembly templates, you'll need paper and any type of dye. The easiest one to get is ink sacks. You just kill a bunch of squids, and then you're able to make any assembly template that you need. I'll show you how to get super easy power early game. So what we're going to need to make are these geothermal electric generators. Again, you should already have one, but if you don't, they're pretty easy to make. You're going to need steel beams, which can be crafted like so. And you're going to need a coated red copper cable. Now, this one's a bit tricky because you're going to need insulators. To get insulators, the easiest recipe is 2 string like this and any type of wool. Another really easy one is the bricks. And if you happen to have any, you can also make some with asbestos. You'll need to make the shredder assembly template. Okay, you're going to put it right here. Make sure your assembly machine is powered. Put all your resources in there, and it'll just start making it. And you're going to need shredder blades. I'm going to use dash ones, but the easiest one to make would probably be the steel or iron. As you can see, it's just iron plates and iron ingots. Same thing for the steel, titanium, advanced alloy, etc. Okay, now that we've got our shredder, you're going to need to get quartz. just from the nether. Line it like this. It'll shred. Now that we have quartz powder, we'll be able to make that thermoelectric element. This right here. Now the one downside to these is that they don't stack. So if you are planning to make a lot of them, make sure you have plenty of storage before doing so. Let's take these out of here. So now that we have our thermoelectric element, you'll need 2 of these. And high-speed steel, also very easy to make. We'll get the steel ingots that I showed you how to get earlier. And we'll also need some tungsten as soon as it's done smelting. We'll have those high-speed steel ingots. Now you'll need 4 of these total, and you will need more of these later. So do make a couple of these, because we will need them later. Right, and you'll need that coated red copper cable, which you still should have a couple of from when I made them earlier. You can also find these at structures. They're very easy to get. I don't know if I can. Yeah, these ones right here. These radio tower things right here. There's a lot of these red copper cables. You'll be able to find a lot of these. And they'll have all these coated red copper cables. And for whenever you get this power, they'll also have energy storage blocks, which I would definitely keep. Thermoelectric generator. Okay, you can either use lava, which is decent, but lava does have a chance to turn into obsidian or cobblestone. So if you do use it, it will run out, and it actually runs out pretty quickly. Now the geothermal electric generator doesn't have a GUI, so you can't open it. You have to have a storage block above it or coated red copper cables above it to get the power. And you can either just run it directly from here with these red copper cables, or you can put it in storage blocks. But you can use lava temporarily if you have a storage block, but for a permanent source, as you can see, it does turn to obsidian, and it only gives you like 50,000 power. So instead, what you want to do, you want to go in the nether, and you want to look for these magma geysers. Now, these are different from smoldering netherrack. Okay, smoldering netherrack does not give you any power, and they give you 10k power a second. So very, very, very good source of power. Set up over here just as an example. This is the most compact way to make it. It would be 3 blocks up for each one, and then just have it all funneling into one single power storage block, whichever one you want to make it out of. I have the spark energy one here, but really any of them work. And then from your energy block, it would go to, make sure it goes to an energy block first. Now we got that out of the way, and you know how to get energy. We're going to go ahead and talk about the chemical plants. The chemical plant is the next thing that you will need. Okay, so to make a chemical plant, you're going to need steel ingots, copper plates, small steel shell, steel tank, and all this other stuff. The most difficult thing to make will be the enhanced circuits and the advanced circuits. So let's go through that quickly. You already should know how to make the basic circuit, as I showed you earlier. And the next one we need to make is the enhanced circuit. Okay, so apparently it doesn't show up on JEI, but it does show you on the actual assembly template itself. I'll show you guys how to get the small steel shell and the big steel shell and the steel tank. You'll need steel ingots in a formation like so. You'll get a big steel shell. To get small steel shells, you'll need plates in a formation like that, titanium plates and steel plates in a formation like so. Get those, get those, get those, those. If you have any advanced circuits or overclock circuits, you can also smelt them down back into other circuits. If you know anything about anvils, you can also uncraft them at anvils if you want the resources from them. Either way is optional. Honestly, doesn't really matter that much. Again, not super difficult material-wise, just kind of a lot to keep track of. Now that we have the chemical plant, though, we're going to go ahead and move on to the oil derrick. You should also make a boiler. This is an electric one for ease of use, but I'll show you how to make the non-electric one. You'll need to learn how to make tanks, and you'll need to get an oil refinery. The thing that you're going to need to know how to make is the titanium drill first. So you're going to need steel ingots, high-speed steel ingots, high-speed bolts, and titanium plates. And that high-speed steel ingots that we learned how to make earlier, you just put 2 of them right there. Get a high-speed steel bolt. You'll need the assembly template, of course, just like everything else. You'll put your materials in there. And you'll get your titanium drill. Now that you got your titanium drill, you're going to need steel scaffold, steel beams, steel tanks, motor, steel pipes, and your red copper wire. So I'll go ahead and put the drill in here. You should know how to make steel tanks already. I just showed you earlier. So just go ahead and make more if you need to. If not, just use the ones that you already have. Steel scaffolding. Now, you can, of course, make this just like everything else, or you can find it naturally generating in the world. I believe I used the naturally generating ones when I was making it the first time, just because it can be a little bit costly, and you're also, usually if you have a whole bunch of steel, you found it from somewhere, so. You'll also need steel beams. Very easy to craft. You can use steel ingots or the steel scaffold if you found it earlier. Steel pipes, very, very, very costly. And you do need a lot of them for other crafting recipes. As you can see, that was a full stack, and I only got 2 steel pipes from that. So very costly. Just do keep that in mind. Okay, now that we have our oil derrick, you're going to want to, you can either mine oil and put it in a square like I've done, or you can find oil naturally generating. Either one works. It just kind of depends on how your base is laid out. You're going to want to hook power up to it, like so. And once it has power, you can see it'll turn on and it'll start generating generating crude oil. Now, the easiest possible way for you to use this crude oil is to just put a boiler right next to this. Now, this is an electric boiler. The electric boiler is much more difficult to craft. You actually need desh for it, so we'll make that one later. So you can make it later once you get desh ingots. For now, just make a normal boiler. Very easy to make. Copper plates, steel ingots, steel tanks, and a furnace. You'll just power that on, and then it'll heat up, and it'll make this hot crude oil. Now, this hot crude oil is going to need to go somewhere. And you'll need universal fluid ducts and fluid identifiers. Fluid identifiers are relatively easy to make. All you need is an iron plate and dye, and you can make fluid identifiers. The universal fluid duct is made like so. Steel plates and aluminum plates. In a crafting table, you can either do this, and you'll keep the fluid identifier, and then if you need to turn them back into universal fluid ducts, you just put them back in here. Now, you're going to need to put it over to your oil refinery, which you won't have yet. I'll just do this so it'll run in the background, and then we can get to that later so we don't have to wait for it. To make a oil refinery, you're going to need quite a bit. You're going to need steel ingots, steel pipes, copper plates, big steel shells, steel pipes, heating coils. That's the only thing I haven't showed you how to make yet, but they're very easy to make. It's just iron ingot wrapped in tungsten wire. Then you'll have the oil refinery. Before you start extracting, also make sure that you get some tanks. Tanks are probably one of the easiest crafting recipes that we've made so far, and just make sure that you hook them up. You'll use the fluid ducts with petroleum, light oil, naphtha, and heavy oil. I also have one for natural gas from the oil derrick, but this is completely optional. The hot crude oil from the boiler, or boilers if you made multiple, will go into the oil refinery, and we needed the petroleum gas. The petroleum gas is very, very, very important. We need the petroleum gas to make our polymer. Polymer is pretty easy to make. You'll also need a chemistry template. It's the same crafting recipe for the assembly template. So for one polymer bar, you'll need the petroleum gas, and you'll need coal, and here it is, fluorite. You'll just put that in there. Obviously, the chemical plant also needs power, and you'll get polymer. Okay, so after all that, you need to do all of that just to get polymer. Polymer is one of the most important things that you can have. It's used in a billion different crafting recipes. Again, very important that you keep it. All of this also will give you heavy oil. The heavy oil is turned into oil tar. Oil tar is smelted into coal powder. Coal powder is then made into coke, or it's actually double coal. You need polymer for the overclocked chips. That's what it is. Okay, so now that we have our polymer, we're going to go ahead and get the overclocked chip. Sorry about that. Hydrogen peroxide is super easy. You can either use an infinite water tank, or you can use you can just use water buckets. It's just water, and then it makes it into hydrogen peroxide. That's all it is. So you'll just put that in some type of storage. I use empty fluid barrels, but anything will work. Now we can make the circuit. So we'll go ahead and make the circuit. Okay, so we're also going to need to make a centrifuge, which is this thingy right here. So I would I would suggest making 2, actually, because you do use this a lot, and you get more ore for each thing that you mine. So you know how to make steel tanks, you know how to make heating coils, you know how to make red copper wire, you know how to make motors. You get the centrifuge element from that. Then you need to make the centrifuge tower. You need 4 centrifuge elements, 4 steel plates, 6 copper wire, 2 lapis lazuli powder, and the polymer bars, which you made earlier. Then centrifuge, also pretty easy to make. Steel ingots, iron ingots, steel plates, copper plate, red copper wire. And with the centrifuge, you're also, again, really need the silk touch, because you need to have redstone ore. And you need to put it in the centrifuge. And this is going to give you a small drop of mercury. A moment, there we go. Small drop of mercury. And then you will take a bottle, as well as it being surrounded with small drops of mercury, and you'll have a full bottle of mercury. Now, 1 bottle of mercury is almost nothing in here. So with the dash processing, so you'll need mercury and light oil, which you should also already have. Yeah, 1 bottle of mercury is 1,000, which really isn't that much, to be honest. I'll grab the dash blend, which you can get either from the centrifuge, or you can get it from just breaking the rare earth metal, or rare earth ore, but it's really worth it to just go ahead and smelt the rare earth ore and get your dash powder from that, because you're guaranteed enough to make a full dash blend, versus if you don't, it's going to take so much longer to get a full dash blend, because you're not guaranteed to get all the ores that you need. So I'll go ahead and fill this up. This is also, right now, the only way to get mercury, so definitely going to need a lot of redstone. You'll throw your dash blend in there, and I will grab some light oil, put that in there, and as you can see, start making it. I had to remove this, by the way, because it was lagging, but yeah. So you'll have then dash ingots. Now that you have your dash ingots, you'll get to one of the best items in the game, the ore acidisiser. Now this thing right here gives you so much ore, and it is just very useful for increasing the amount of things that you get for the amount of ore that you mine. And I'll show you how that works in a second. So we're going to need a big steel shell. Okay, there we go. Now it's working. Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't working before. That's really weird. Okay, anyways, now that you have your ore acidisiser, you can make a lot more things. Like, to get mercury, all you need is redstone blocks. Put them through the ore acidisiser, and get mercury from it. Usually just takes much longer. As you can see, it is very slow usually. You can use cinnabar. Cinnabar also works very well, because that makes that way faster. And cinnabar will give you 3 small drops of mercury. If you ever go and make scribidium, you'll have the scribidium ingots. And if you put them in here, it will crystallize them. Yeah, it turns it into scribidium crystals, which are much more efficient by 1, but still it adds up over time. I know another good one is you can take any of the ores and put them through, and it'll put them in their crystallized form, and those are also more effective in the centrifuge. So, like, if I get what's one that I do a lot? If I get copper and I put it in there, give me a copper crystal, and then it'll give me 4 copper for 1 copper ore if I put it in the what's it called, in the centrifuge. So, but yeah, that's how you get the ore acidisizer. That's how you get dash, and I don't really know a whole lot past that, but hopefully that helps you guys out. So, happy building.